Hey everyone, welcome back to TK's Tech Talk. Today I'm going to be looking at this Z890 Aorus Master by Gigabyte, and we're going to be installing the Intel Core Ultra 270K Plus into this motherboard. So there will be a full build video, so keep an eye out for that. I plan to do this install inside a Corsair 3500X to create an all black PC build with no ARGB this time and see how it comes out. So I think we'll take a quick look around the motherboard box first to see the features. So I bought this board because it has 10 GBE, and when compared to the creator version it was a lot cheaper. I paid around £205 shipped from the US to the UAE. So that's a very good price for this board considering it launched, I think the retail was like £500 or whatever the equivalent is in USD. So for the features it has, it's a good price, but again, I'm not sure if this is something worth buying today considering it doesn't have an upgrade path, as the Core Ultra 2 series is the only processors that work on this board. So this is the Z890 Aorus Master. There is another one, I think it's called AI or AI Top or something. That one has dual 10 GBE LANs. It's an E80X motherboard and it's a bigger motherboard than this one. So one interesting thing I just remembered is maybe the Core Ultra 270K Plus, it should work out of the box depending on what version of BIOS this is, but I believe it works without having to update your BIOS on any Z890 or LGA 1851 motherboard. I think it just works because of the way the microcode is, not really sure, but hopefully we won't need to update the BIOS. Taking a quick look around the box, it's quite a heavy board, this one. It's got there the Core Ultra Series 2 logo and the Z890 logo. Not much more there, not much on the front side, not much on that side, not much on this side, and not much apart from the revision and serial number there. And I almost missed the most important part of the motherboard box, which is the back, which has all of the information that we actually need. So we have a nice picture of the board there. Looks like there's some lighting going on there on that Aorus logo. We have the VRM information, which is 18+1+2 phases for the digital VRM. We have a easy latch for the NVMEs, the heat sinks for the NVMEs, and also for the graphics card. We have Wi-Fi 7 and it uses easy plug, so it makes it nice and easy to get that Wi-Fi connected in. And then we have some of the specs here. I hope they're all in focus. So it talks about the PCIe 5x16, PCIe 4x4, 1 slot, PCIe 3x1, 1 slot, 4 DDR5 DIMM slots, 4 SATA 3 connectors, 2 M.2 Gen 5 connectors, 3 M.2 Gen 4 connectors, and it has 10 GBE LAN, Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth, 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports, and lots of USB ports. So now let's take a look at the board. Right, so this is how it looks when the box is opened. We have this protective cardboard. It's got nothing inside. Not sure why they don't use that for some of the accessories. So let's get this board out first. Bit of a fiddle, and it definitely is a heavy board. I'll just put that to the side for now. And now let's see what accessories we get with this motherboard. So starting off, we have the Wi-Fi antenna, which has that easy plug connector. Nice to see we don't have to fiddle with those gold connectors anymore. We have 2 SATA cables here. One is fully straight, one has a right angle. Then we have this cable, and I'm just guessing from the contents in the manual that this must be a noise detector. I'm not really too sure what that's used for. If you know, please let me know in the comments. And then we have 2 of these thermistors. So it looks like these are for monitoring the temperature inside the case maybe. Then we have the G connector, which is used to connect the power LED, power switch, etc. from the case onto your motherboard. So you plug everything into here first and then just directly connect it into the motherboard. Now for the purpose of this video, I may not bother using this because I'm going to be switching this motherboard into another case anyway, and I don't want to fiddle about with those cables. And what's nice is that there is a power button which I can use for now, so I'll just use that and we can maybe deal with these cables later. Then we have some pads. I'm guessing these are for the NVMe as the standoff or to support the NVMEs. And we have what Gigabyte calls the wind blade. This is used as a fan or active cooling for the DDR RAM, which is nice to see. Then we have some thermal pads for the M.2, some more supports for the M.2, another thermal pad for the M.2, and another set of pads for the M.2 NVMe drives. And then we have some nice Aorus stickers, and then my favorite part, all of this lovely bedtime reading. Well, I'm going to be honest, I guess for the motherboard it's not really bedtime reading, but in case you need it, it's there, or you can download the manual, the full manual from the website. And now back to the motherboard. Right, with all the accessories out of the way, let's get this motherboard unpackaged. Got some tape on the back there. And there we have the motherboard. Okay, I've changed the orientation of the board so we can have a better look around. I think this is going to be a better view slightly, and we'll have a look at the I/O panel later. So before we talk about the front of this board, let's just have a look on the underside. And surprisingly, for an expensive board like this, there's no back panel, but that's not a big deal for me, to be honest. So let's go over what's on the front of this board, and you can see it has lots and lots of metal for all of the VRMs, for the NVMe, especially the primary one. It's got a massive heatsink there. We'll have a look at that in a moment. It's actually got 5 M.2 NVMe slots. The other 4 are under here. And we have reinforced PCIe slots. We have reinforced RAM slots, at least 2 of them. And we also have a reinforced ATX 24-pin power connector. I think to go through the rest, I'm going to actually pick the board up because it's going to be a lot easier to show you each part of it. So we've got along the top here, 2 8-pin CPU power connectors. And then we have a CPU OPT fan connector, CPU fan, system fan 2, fan 6 pump. So I'm not guessing there's not 6 pumps, I'm guessing it's just labeled fan 6. Then we have ARGB, 2 3-pin ARGB connectors. We have a little display. We have a button, which is for, it says reset, so it might be a CMOS reset button. And then of course we have the 24-pin power connector, the USB-C front connector, 2 3.25 gigabit connectors, a front HDMI connector, or I think that's for a panel, like an internal LCD panel or something. So that's a full HDMI port there. And we've got 4 SATA ports there and 2 more fan connectors. These 2 are labeled fan 7 pump and fan 8 pump. Then along the bottom here, we've got the front panel connector, which is where that front panel clip goes in here, and then you put the wires into that. Then you have fan 5, which is a pump header, system fan 4, system fan 3. Then we have 2 USB front port headers. I believe that says TPM, so I'm guessing you can add another TPM or something. I'm not really sure how that works. DB Sense, not sure what that's for. I'll have to check that out. Then we have a 4-pin RGB cable connector, and then we have 2 more ARGB 3-pin connectors, front audio panel connector, and another LED connector here. So that's about it for all the connectors. And then we have 3 PCIe X16 slots. The bottom one says here it's wired at PCIe X4. You might just be able to see above that. That's a PCIe X1. What's interesting though is that they're both wired, I think you can just about see the pins, I'm not sure, to X4. And the top one obviously is a PCIe X16. And then we have the cover at the bottom for the remaining M.2s. So again, we just pull away the latch and lift up this plate, and it just comes off like that. It's got 4 thermal pads underneath. It can support 10 centimeter drives as well as 8 centimeter drives. So let's put that to the side, and then we can see all of the 4 ports. So we have another one here which also has a thermal pad on it. Now I'm going to have to reference the manual because I've forgotten which one is the PCIe 5, but I believe that is the second PCIe 5 drive. And then this one here and this one here are PCIe Gen 4 drives. And of course the one I missed hiding down here. So there's 3 Gen 4 drives, 2 Gen 5 drives. So one thing I want to point out here, if you use the second PCIe 5 slot, it will reduce the bandwidth of the graphics card to 8 lanes, and it shouldn't be a big deal in most cases, but that is something to know if you do plan to use 5 NVMEs on this motherboard. And one important feature I forgot to mention before is the quick release PCIe button here. You just push that down and you can see the clip opens up. Right, let's move on to the front I/O panel. We can see here there is lots of I/O going on here. We have a clear CMOS button here on the left with a flashback button on the top. We have 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports. We have 2 3.2 Gen 2 ports. These are 10 gigabits ports, so all the red ones are 10 gigabit ports. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 10 gigabit ports. Then we have 4 5 gigabit USB 3 ports, 2 USB 2 ports, and 1 10 gigabit LAN, as you can see right there. And then we have that quick, easy Wi-Fi connector. You just plug it in and it's done. and then you have the SPDIF digital output, as well as a mic and line out for the sound. And I just noticed something I forgot to mention. Fan number 1 is sitting right there by those 8-pin power connectors, and they are also metal reinforced, just like the 24-pin power connector there. Right, so moving on to the processor, which we're going to install in this board. We have the new Core Ultra 270K Plus, which has similar Corsair 285K, but costs significantly less. And just a typical processor box, nothing special, nothing exciting. It's got a nice black finish, obviously. And let's just open up this processor seal and take it out, and then we'll install it into the motherboard. Let's get it out of the packaging. And there we have it, some nice bedtime reading and a sticker inside, as you can see there. And here is the processor. So let's get this out of here now. And there we have the processor. So let's get our motherboard back in the picture and get this processor installed. Right, so let's get our CPU into this motherboard. So first we will pull down the lever, lift it up, leaving the plastic on. I've made this mistake many times. And then we'll take the processor out of the packet and pay attention to the arrow, because the arrow is the important part that helps us install the CPU. So we'll be able to see here on the processor, I hope this is visible, but this is the corner with the arrow. I'm not sure if you can see that, but there's an arrow right there embossed onto the CPU. And the same on the motherboard, there is an arrow on the corner here. So we need to make sure that we align the arrow, as well as you can see there is a notch at the top and the bottom of the processor there, and they will line up with the notch at the top and the bottom of the CPU socket there. So we just carefully put the CPU down into the socket, making sure we don't bend any pins, nice and easily. I usually give it a light rub with the finger to make sure it's down, and then we put down the plastic part, and then we slowly pull down the lever, and that should release the plastic, and it jumps up like that, and the processor is in. Okay, so that's it for this video. I hope you found it useful to learn the features of the motherboard, and I will be doing a build, as I mentioned, with this motherboard and processor, and I would also be testing with multiple coolers this processor to see how well they perform. I have a Arctic Liquid 420 and also a Thermalright 360 cooler, which I hope to test. So I'll be doing some testing with those, so keep an eye out for those videos. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe. See you in the next one.